You can ask council if they have an objection.
Chris.
We're in there first.
Can I get a
Ours
copy
doesn't require
from last year what I wrote?
Right.
It's an information.
All right, it's 7 o'clock.
Oh, all right.
Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. I wanted to find out from council, are there any objections to amending the agenda to allow Upper Darby School District to present their item first? Any objections? Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have Craig Rogers and Marvin Lee here. A while back, they have a camera initiative that will stop cars from passing school buses. I'll let them more elaborate that. The chief, as you know, is on vacation, but Chief Rockabot fully supports this program. I did speak to the solicitor. There's some work we'll have to do as a council, but Marvin's going to give us a presentation. Welcome, Marvin.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Oh, okay. Good evening, everybody. My name is Marvin Lee from Upper Darby School District. I'm here also with Mr. Craig Rogers, our CFO, and David Gold from the bus patrol of the company. So we're here to introduce a very important school safety program. School bus safety program for our students. After our short presentation, we are hoping that Clifton Heights Borough considers implementing this program within the boundary of the borough. So this program we're introducing is about the school bus stop arm violation program. This is why we are recommending it. So there's about 13,000 students in Upper Darby School District, and of that students, we have about 5,000 students that are eligible for transportation services, and we provide transportation to about 130 schools to and from our township. We also have about 80 buses operating on a daily basis, and we have 45 buses in the summertime for extended school year program. We also make about 1,500 stops on a daily basis in our community, and we are getting a lot of complaints from our bus drivers because we are hearing that our bus drivers see a lot of vehicles not respecting our stop signs on the bus. So we did an unofficial survey back in December of 2022. What we found was not good. So we found about 3.75 cars are not stopping at the stop arm, which is not safe. It's not a safe situation at all. So that's why, and we were dealing with it, but the situation was not easy. It was pretty complicated. As you know, it's a now or never situation. So unless we have a police vehicle standing there to catch the violator, by the time that we call the police, they're already gone. Number two, it's very hard for our drivers to write down the police, the plate numbers, especially when you have like a 3.75 a day, because our school bus drivers should be focusing on our students getting on and off the bus. And even if our school bus drivers are capturing all those like license numbers, it's going to be very hard for us to compile that information and send the information to the police department for processing or any kind of feedback. So we're thinking about dozens and dozens of violations. So when we think about us sending those violations to the police department, what are you going to do with it? A lot. So that's why we're recommending the school bus stop arm camera program. So we're not just coming up with like a random program that we want to do. So there's an Act 38 of 2022 that allow the school bus stop arm camera to be installed on the school buses to detect stop arm camera violations. Act 38 of 2020 also dictates how much fine we can assess and what kind of money we will be splitting between the school district and the state grant and also the municipality. So that's one. And also Upper Darby School District also implemented administrative guidelines to govern this act as well. As you may know, Upper Darby School District has 3 municipalities: Upper Darby Township, Clifton Heights Borough, and Milburn Borough. So we have full support from the Upper Darby Township about this program. We are here to garner your support about this program so we can create like a safer environment for our students. So here's how the program is going to work. There's two different processes to set up the program and also run the program. In the upstream setting of the program, the school board already approved us to move forward with this program, and the Abu Dhabi School District also established the relationship with the Abu Dhabi Township Police Department, and we also went through the request for proposal process, very vigorous process to select Bus Patrol as our contractor. And we are in the final phase of the contract negotiation. After everything is completed, hopefully this week, next week, we will be announcing public awareness program. We don't want people to get caught in this violation. $300 is a lot of money. So we're gonna get the communication out to community members from Abu Dhabi School District and also Bus Patrol to let them know we will be starting this program so people are aware of this program. After that, how the program works. So Abu Dhabi School District will be installing the technology devices, mostly camera and AI, on our buses, and we will be detecting those violations. Once we detect those violations will be sent to the local police department through online dashboard. So we don't just assess any fees without the approval from the Clifton Borough. So our officers will be able to review every and each violations and accept or deny. So what we are hearing from the industry standard is about 75 to 95% depending on the situation. That's like approval rate. So after that, once the police officer approves those violations, we will be sending out those notifications to the violators, and we'll be processing those payments. And if the person does not agree with our violations, they may contest. So there will be a whole process for it. Finally, the revenue. So Act 38 of 2020 dictates that we can assess $300 as a fine, and the local police department receives $25 of the received fines. So you'll be getting $25, and the Pennsylvania School Bus Safety Grant Program also gets $25, and $250 will be shared between the contractor and the school district. Obviously, that money will be spent to maintain and operate the program. So that's just about the program in very brief. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Marvin, when you say the police, are you talking your school police? You're talking about our police would verify that is a violation in Clifton Heights Borough that occurred?
That'll be Clifton Heights Police.
Under Act 70, under the police.
That's correct.
Motor Vehicle Code.
Yes.
Okay. And then the second one was, how many violations do you anticipate a year?
What we hear from the Bus Patrol is they're estimating in urban environment 0.25 to 0.5 a day per bus. That's what they're estimating. But we're going to have to see what the actuality is going to be.
And who writes the citations?
Who wrote the citation? Citation will be sent by the Abu Dhabi School District with the contractor.
It's going to be on the state.
David?
So the violations are caught by the AI and video cameras on the bus. What happens after that is that video and that information is uploaded to a secure cloud. We have reviewers and processors. So besides the AI, we have people who actually review the citations. We have an office in Allentown, and that's where they review them. If they agree that there's a citation, it goes to the processors. They agree. They cut short portion video that gets uploaded and sent to each individual. It knows which department, what area that it has occurred. It gets sent down in a nice little, what we call an evidence package, which is 3 still photos of the vehicle passing the bus, as well as 3 videos of the vehicle passing the bus as well. Officers get to review. We don't issue the violations, or we don't approve the violations. The officers review them. They have the decision whether to approve or disapprove. If they approve one of the violations, that comes back to us. We have a printer. Our printers actually mail out the violations. Violations that are already approved by PennDOT as well as PSP. So we take care of all the paperwork.
So under the state act, are they civil violations?
Correct, yes. They're civil.
And who adjudicates them?
If somebody wants to contest, it goes in front of PennDOT, in front of PennDOT hearing officers. On the bottom of this, on the violation, they have the option of either paying, they can also pay online, but they can also request a hearing. They mail it back to us. We have a contract with PennDOT as far as we create the dockets, send them to PennDOT, and the PennDOT hearing officers are the one that hear the contestations. Yes.
Sounds similar to if you drive in a construction zone in a state highway. My understanding of those tickets, you pay a fine, you don't get points, you don't get license suspension, you pay a fine. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct.
And that's what the sentence would be?
Correct. It's $300. There's no, like on a normal traffic ticket where say a fine is $25, but by the time you end up adding in the EMS CAT surcharge, it's usually, the last time I checked was in the 150, 160 range.
Correct. If you pass a stop school bus, you get a license suspension, which you don't get with this.
Correct. There is none of that. There's no points assigned. It doesn't even go on the driver's operating record. It doesn't go on his driving record. It's just the fine.
What was the cost of all those cameras?
That I don't know.
Okay.
As far as putting the cameras in, I'm a law enforcement liaison. I'm a retired officer. I did a little over 26 years on the street up in Phoenixville. So
Anybody from Upper Darby now?
that I'm an officer?
No,
Was?
I'm asking Upper Darby. Do you guys know the cost?
We don't know the exact cost, but the revenue share will be in the tune of 60% for the contractor and 40% for the school district.
Okay.
In general, yeah.
And then depending on the contract, there's tech fees to every month.
Absolutely. Yep.
So the cost would be the school district, not the borough, or not?
Yeah, there's no cost to the borough.
Okay.
And there's no cost to the school district either. Out of that 250, that is what the tech fees and everything. So yeah, we don't charge anybody. And even with the tech fees, if the tech fees don't add up for 1 month, we don't charge anybody. We just kind of keep all rolling in the red until it catches up.
On the act that they passed, there's nothing to stop one of our officers from issuing a citation if he visually sees it under the crimes code, right? Under the vehicle code, right?
Absolutely. On-view citations take precedence. If an officer writes an on-view citation and they happen to see it in our system, the officers disapprove it for a duplicate violation. The officers take precedence.
Two-part questions. For those who would ignore the fine, what's the procedure for collection? And second part,
Sorry.
are these violations progressive for people who don't learn their lesson the first, second, third time, whatever they may occur?
No, there is no penalty for each time. It does not increase. On a whole, we've looked at the numbers and 98% of people who receive one violation do not receive a second. First part of that question was the collections. That'd be up to the school district, but the law does allow for collections. We actually use the same collection agency as you were saying about the automated work zone speed enforcement. We use the same collections agency that does that for the state as well.
Any other questions?
What are you looking for me to take this to the bar? What paperwork? What are we looking for this? Like,
So we're gonna need an understanding, a memorandum of understanding between the borough and the school district, and we are hoping to implement this in the beginning of 24-25 school year.
okay. That'd be John. Right. That'd be you. I'm wondering if we have to do anything or just wait till it comes in, John? Do it that way.
I'm sure I'll get a
Or handle it.
proposed agreement.
All right. Thanks for coming in.
Okay, thank you. We're going to do the reports of the borough officers. Do we have anything from our financial advisor?
Cindy's got the budget, and the bills are presented next week. So
Okay.
everything's fine. We did, I completed, on the financial side, I completed the ARPA reporting
Okay.
for the quarter. There's one more left to do. We have a balance of about 340,000 left in there. We spent no money in the last quarter in that account. We'll be pumping some of that money into the projects that we have on the fields and, the pickleball court and some of the park renovations. Get rid of it. We have to spend it by December 31st.
Anything from the police department?
No.
Okay. Fire department?
Just a couple of things. You'll have my official report at the council meeting. But just to let Borough Council know, at the tail end of last month, we purchased, at the fire company, we purchased some beds and some lockers for our guys. On any given night, we're averaging about 3 to 5 guys staying in the firehouse overnight. On the weekends, we're doing much better than that. We're staffing 2 trucks on some nights over the weekend. So our response times are down. So we're seeing an interest from our guys spending more time at the firehouse. And it's made things much smoother, getting out the door quicker. Friday night, we had an emergency right across the street from the firehouse. And before the siren stopped rolling, we were already in the house doing what we were doing. So we're definitely seeing a benefit from that. Also, we're on pace this year. Last year, we set a record for our activity as far as fire calls at 657 calls last year. Through our mutual aid agreements with the surrounding communities, we're seeing an increase in requests for us to help them out, and we're on pace right now for about 850 calls this year. So we're definitely putting more miles on our guys and more miles on our vehicles. And the third thing is, this past weekend was National Fallen Firefighters Weekend out in Emmitsburg at the memorial, where they added names to the wall that passed away the previous year in the line of duty. In recognition of that, 12 of our members, including myself, participated in a firefighter survival course, some of us for the second time. Firefighter survival course down at Delaware County Emergency Services Training Center, which went over tactics of bailing out windows using rope and going down ladders head first. So the guys are taking an interest in really progressing forward with our training and trying to make sure that we get ourselves in a situation where we're able to get ourselves out of it as best as possible. So you should be very proud of the guys that you got up there. They're doing excellent work. That's all.
Thank you. Any questions for the fire chief? All right, engineers report?
I don't have a written report for the caucus meeting. I will for the regular meeting, but I'll comment on a few items under the manager's report.
Okay. Solicitor?
I just wanted that bring the council's attention to one thing, and I don't know if Tom's going to talk about it, but council may know we bank, one of our depositories is Republic Bank. And if you've seen the news lately, Republic wasn't doing that well. And in fact, actually, they had various managerial problems, board disputes and that sort of thing. Their assets actually exceed their liabilities, but because of the management problems and because of the non-compliance with filing of certain required financial reports, the Pennsylvania Department of Banking and the Federal Depository Insurance Corporation did step in and took over Republic Bank and immediately assigned their assets to Fulton Bank. In essence, Fulton Bank bought them. Fulton Bank was ready, willing, and able to do so. It likely had been in the works for some time. Fulton Bank is a regional bank based out of Lancaster, Pennsylvania, that is expanding and growing. So we, did with Tom and Ms. Leitzel, we talked to the representatives from Republic Bank immediately. We actually talked that weekend and then Monday morning. All the deposits are there. There's no adverse effect to the borough. The biggest problem will be for us is just changing the name and password, as for our online banking services. But eventually that will come through. We did, fully aware of the news reports about Republic Bank. And they had, like I said, a board dispute, and one side of the board was supposed to put in a capital deposit at the end, near the end of 2023. They did not do that. Again, that made the news. We at the time did speak to the representatives because, just for your information, municipalities have additional protections from bank failures. First of all, in the United States, we don't let banks fail anymore. The federal government steps in and makes sure nobody loses any money except the stockholders. But in Pennsylvania, you also have an act that was adopted in 1973 that says for depositories that are approved by municipalities for deposits that they do hold, they must set aside monies and basically hold them in escrow or buy a letter of credit equal to the amount of money that are there. And we do ask our depositories to provide us with assurances, a letter certifying that they're in compliance with that Pennsylvania Act, and they do that. So we had, spoken to our representatives at Republic at the end of last year. Asked them to take a look at that. We actually looked at whether or not we wanted to have them do a letter of credit for our deposits. So we kind of anticipated, the bad straits that they were in, so we're fine at this point. Like I said, we don't lose any money. One of the great things about Republic's operating is that they have a lot of municipal deposits. They go back to the old commerce model that they welcome municipal deposits without any fees. You would think that banks want to have our deposits in millions of dollars, but they don't, because we have a lot of transactions. We have a lot of people putting in their tax. We have a lot of checks going out. And nowadays, because they don't make a lot of interest off of our money just sitting there, most banks want to charge us fees. Republic's model was that they did not charge us any fees. Thankfully, we have not had to take a tax anticipation note in at least several years. But they consistently had the lowest interest rates for municipalities if and when they did that. So that was always the good part about having Republic Bank, was they took our deposits, they charged us no fees. The not so great part about Republic was they weren't great on paying high interest rates for the money that we did have there. So that was kind of the yin and the yang of Republic. But we're there. We've already talked about with Mr. McCosey and Ms. Lightsell about looking at perhaps having more of our reserve fund moved to the Pennsylvania Local Government Investment Trust, or PLGIT, which is run as a consortium of municipal and government-related accounts. And we were talking about that before anyway, just because to take advantage now that interest rates are on the rise or higher. The PLGITs of the world are finally sort of caught up in terms of what they'll pay us to have our deposits there. Just wanted to provide that information for the council and the public. I don't have anything further at this time.
Okay. Any questions? All right. Next up, community development and code enforcement.
Thank you, Madam President. I will have a prepared report for our council meeting. I have received a zoning hearing board application for the former Hay sewing machine property.
Okay.
So I will be announcing that date once we have a date, and I'll be working with our solicitor and our zoning solicitor to get that to a meeting.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Gould? Okay. Next up is the manager's report.
Thank you. In front of you is on the board here somewhere. We have a resolution for the Trails Program for Greenway Recreation for the state. That comes from Senator Kearney's office, and that will be money that will be used on Glenwood Avenue and Diamond Street Park. We have that teed up and ready to go. The resolution will be passed next month, and then we'll make the deadline of 5/31 to have it submitted. We have good good vibes that's a good program that they're interested in. So that'll be for the park. So I'll be on the agenda as well. JP and I and John McLean have worked pretty aggressively in the last couple of weeks on the update. So we have an updated land development plan that we'll put up. JP and I, you want to highlight what we additions and where we're at?
Sure. Since the last meeting, since the last council meeting, the regular council meeting, you saw presentations regarding Oak and Springfield and the changes with the within the PennDOT right away. We had site meetings, we've had Zoom meetings to discuss the best outcome for the borough along Oak. The school district agreed to preserve the parking, and that was extremely important to the borough and borough council to hold that left turn lane. And along Springfield, they're considering the parking lane becoming 1 foot wider, and the westbound lane would be 1 foot less. So instead of 11 feet, 10 feet. That's within the discretion of PennDOT at this point. We don't have a final answer on that, but we are down to that final issue. So the Oak Avenue issues have been addressed satisfactorily, and at least we're satisfied with that. Also, we did
up until the point we have a meeting Friday night to try to get rid of the left-hand turn.
right. So there's additional meetings continued, but we're down to a few minor issues at that intersection of those two roads regarding PennDOT. The final plans have been submitted. In fact, we got the final set of plans electronically today. We will go through them. Within that electronic plans that we got today, the removal of the improvements on the ball field on the rightmost portion of the property were included, and that was something that we asked for. Also, we asked to address a retaining wall issue along Revere Road. That too went through a series of conversations and Zoom meetings. And you can see it on your screen now that they have addressed that. I believe it's satisfactory. I don't see any problem with what they proposed. The walkway or the pathway off the end of Revere is still preserved, so people can get through the end of Revere and then down to the field if they wish. So that's still accessible. And that retaining wall, which was one of our concerns, is now been addressed also. They also received yesterday, I believe, was it today or yesterday, their full planning module. So their sewage planning module has been approved by DEP. Their conservation district permits, their NPDES permits have been approved. So the only third-party permit that still needs to be approved or at least addressed and submitted to the borough for final acceptance is the PennDOT permit. As far as the site improvements are concerned, the plans up to, at least today, they were 95% complete. So we'll go through it for the administrative review, whether or not the plans are completely addressed with the bulk of the property has already been addressed. I have no issue with that. But as far as crossing the T's and dotting the I's, that's what we'll do next with this plan that's been submitted. And then after that, it's going to be necessary to develop the developers agreements, the stormwater agreements, final execution of the plans, and then final recording of the plans. And that will then give them their final approval once those agreements are executed and recorded, and they can start work. That's an update on the school district.
Just one question. On Sycamore Street, right? How is that going? What are they widening that to, like, the 3 lanes, really, a turn lane, and where the store was?
Oh, where the store was. There is a widening for a right lane, a through lane, and a straight and left lane.
Okay.
So that a portion of that down by where the store was does get widened.
But it's still a 2-way, right?
Correct. Yes.
We had that right there. Pretty much up to that driveway.
I think it's from where, if my recollection is correct, from where where they come out, where the driveway comes out onto Sycamore.
Mm-hmm.
You immediately make a right. It will be widened from that portion down to the corner to basically add an extra lane there.
Yes.
That was the original way they were going to do it, right?
Well, way back when, that was not, but once the school board or the school obtained that property, then yes. Yeah, after they obtain that property, so that,
Basically for council, we have you don't see any, we discussed this after with John also, I don't see anything impeding anything moving forward from our standpoint. We get a lot of questions every day about it, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I mean, I know those last couple of items. I mean, we said last month that we were close. You know, we're down to the couple yard line. Those last couple of issues right on the plan came in today, were fixed. Kelly Engineers had provided their full review of the final plan since our last council meeting. We did receive, I'll note a couple of things. We did receive from the Darby Creek Joint Authority the approval as the borough had proposed it. You remember that Darby Creek Joint Authority had approved it contingent upon there being a project that we estimated would cost at least $250,000, which would be a cost to the school district, to put in sanitary sewer slip lining along Springfield Road in order to create 15 EDUs, was it?
15.
Yeah. And, a sort of tri-party agreement came out. We became aware of it at the end of January or beginning of February. We asserted to the Darby Creek Joint Authority that we believe, we don't have to rehash the work council's done over the past few years to try to reduce I&I, but you've spent, a good amount of money to do that. And so Kelly Engineers, again, documented to Darby Creek Joint Authority all the efforts that were made in additional calculations. And since your last council meeting, Darby Creek Joint Authority has written to us saying that they are approving the necessary EDUs for this project without having to conduct that $250,000 at least project on Springfield Road. So obviously that's a savings to the district. Concurrently, that approval we've also talked about 500 Broadway, and they approved what was necessary for 500 Broadway. So it took a little bit of effort and work to, convince the professionals, not the board members, but we were able to do that. So we have that. Once we have a plan that can be executed, it'll be signed off on by the president of council, by the engineer, and by the school district officials. That will get recorded. We'll have a land development agreement. We have that. It's under review. We'll have the public improvement security agreement. I've suggested, and I think that the district is agreeable to, we coming up with, rather than them giving us a cash escrow and us holding $12.8 million, for a period of several years, or the district buying a letter of credit that may cost them for a $13 million letter of credit, $1 million or $2 million or some number like that, or buying an insurance bond for that amount, that I would, as I'm allowed to under the municipality's planning code, accept a form of security that I feel protects the borough. And if they pledge to us tax revenues without having to put up any money, I would be comfortable with that and sign that type of an agreement. Once again, that'll be a benefit to the school district and generally to the taxpayers, and that's going to save them a good amount of money. And then finally, the next step would be to move on to the building permits, and we're continue to have conversations regarding that. But I do see it moving ahead and having some construction activity out there in the very short future.
While we're on that, John, you touched on it, but as a borough as a whole, because of our projects and some of the big things that are going on in the borough, we do need to look at our permit structure and permit. So we're going to need I wanted to put on the agenda, I think, that we talked about we're going to try to work with JP and John, look at other municipalities and come up with we have the permit fee structure, but it doesn't stop. So nobody ever anticipated a $92 million school or a $4 million project that like we had down Kmart. So there's no real cap on it. And we want to try to stagger it as you go up into a couple millions, start, reducing it from, $10 on 100 down to $7 on 100 down to 5 and then down to cover the cost of what we do, but we're really not supposed to be making dollars, exorbitant amount of dollars on permit fees. We have beefed up, we are looking at our expenses. We have beefed up our code enforcement department. We have outside contracts now looking at these projects. So we're taking all that into account, but we're going to make it fair and equitable for everybody. So that'll be on the agenda. That's all I have for the school district. On the other item we do have a police test out. It's online. It's on the Facebook. It's on the police. It's in the paper. I can tell you things we're hearing across the country that the police applicants have increased. We have not seen that yet. We've had 3 applicants so far. Hopefully that they're getting it online and they're all going to run in here on Friday afternoon and drop them all off. But if you know anybody who wants to be a police officer in Clifton Heights, we do have 2 full-time positions we're going to be putting on. We have a 3-year federal grant for that, and we intend to have a vigorous process to get them on board.
Tom, I think we're at the deadline for the applications.
I think it was the 13th. Today is? Pick them up or submit them? I forget. Chief's not here, but it's out there. I kind of thought it was Friday after submitting it, but I can check and put it out.
Is this Saturday the test? Next Saturday? All right, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think we're this month screwed up. We're like a week behind.
Yeah, I think we had it first this
Yeah.
Saturday, but I think we moved it to next Saturday.
Yeah.
So there is still time. I'm sorry.
There's time. Don't jinx it.
I'm sorry.
We also will be hopefully putting on the agenda. We've been working furiously to try to come up with an amicable solution to our pool problem. As you recall, pools are a problem when Home Depot puts out a pump on a 4-foot pool, which is really dangerous in the neighborhoods. But then you have people that don't have a backyard that want to put them in the front yard. So John's been doing really great job looking at other towns that have those ordinances. Ours is outdated, so some of it really has the room to put a pool. You really can't put a pool. And we have people that are putting pools in and really calling every day. Fortunately, Home Depot is saying you better check with the borough. We always have that problem where they think we're up at Arby and we're not, we're Clifton, and they put it in, say, well, I went up at Arby, and they allow them, we don't. So we're going to try to clean it up. We did go through the planning commission in the borough. The next step would be write the ordinance and tweak it, get it out to the county planning, and then come back here for an ordinance and get it approved for the borough. So that's on there too as well. The final thing that I had, couple things is I am going to be putting on for co-stars to purchase. I have 15, but I think we're talking today. We may go with 20. We beautified the Baltimore Pike Carter. We're doing a great job with the street sweeper every day, hitting it hard, using the hose on it to suck up some of the leaves and some dirt around there. But we are going to put benches and beautify from all the bus stops. All those broken ones are down. We're going to take them. I think there's like 12 stops maybe. JP, when we get our gazebo out front, we're going to put 4 of them under there. We're going to put 2 out in front of the building here. So that's in front of you. It's co-stars. It's about $28,000 to do, and trash cans also beside each one for litter. And that's that. That'll be on the agenda for co-stars. Co-stars, you know, is a purchasing program that gets a big discount. We got a pretty good discount on it. The other one is we're in the springtime. We're going to put the pothole killers back in. This year, though, I've asked them to give me a price on street sweeping as after they do it, because what they do, they blow the hole out. Those cinders go all over the place, and then they fill the hole, and then they leave. So we're going to have a street sweeper go and do each driveway. Behind that, there's 5 trucks. That's a co-stars program as well. I'll have that on the agenda. And we kind of schedule with weather and availability. So we do it, then we check it out, and then we may call them in the following week. We do 4 in a row, but usually program goes in through the end of June. If we need more, we can always come back to council. And the final one is JP's done a great job on, a lot of council people ask how this happens on the road program and where it's at in your individual districts. I actually included what JP and I work on. So it's not just about the paving of the road, it's fixing some of the items in there, curbs and inlets. So it's broken down, and it's broken down by street, by how many feet, and there's a map attached. JP did a great job showing me a map so you guys can see what it is in your individual districts. As you know, money comes in from the road program through liquid fuels. If it goes over, we also transfer some capital dollars. We put some capital money in there to get the roads, to keep the roads improved. And basically, we lucked out because Pico, right, John, Pico owes me some money, so that should be coming in.
Did we get it yet?
I didn't get it. But when I get it, we're going to take that and roll it. That we already paid for that road, so now that was some capital. We're going to put some more money in and really do, as long as we maintain the roads all the time. We have really good infrastructure here. We've been doing a lot with the sewers, storm inlets, and road program. So we don't really have too many dilapidated roads here. For the amount of traffic we get, it's done by traffic, travel, and condition. So JP's been around long enough. He has a program that kind of rejuvenates in how many miles and we do. So that's what I have for you. That was given to you. And I believe we do have a meeting on Friday night at the request of President Council for the neighbors on Oak Avenue and Springfield Road. It's open to those neighbors by invitation of the owner of the property or any rental occupant that's in there. It's hosted by Suzanne with Senator Kearney and Representative Boyd to discuss to see if we can get PennDOT pressure. The residents are requesting there is no left-hand turn going northbound off of Oak going northbound on Springfield Road. That's correct, Suzanne? Okay, so that was it. So I have.
Any questions for the manager? Okay. Next up are council reports. Mr. Swan? Okay. Mr. Esel?
Yes, up to the ward. With a community of 25 lawyers and media, every 4 or 5 years, we put out an elder law handbook. This book is designed for two different audiences. One audience is the seniors, has information on Medicare, Medicaid, veterans benefits, things of that nature. The other thing is if you're a 50-year-old child taking care of your adult parent who's not doing too well, there's a lot of information here. If your senior parent doesn't have a power of attorney and has lost their mind, it's guardianship time. So this is a very good book, whether you are a senior citizen or somebody caring for seniors. The book is free. This is hot off the press. This took 25 lawyers about a year to put together. It's a really good book. It's 10 pages longer than last year's. Get it while you can. The only problem we had this year doing it, printing prices went through the roof. So instead of printing 10,000 copies, we had to print 6,500. So the copies will run out. We have some in the back, we have some in the front desk. Thank you.
All right. Next up, Mr. Fagioli. Okay. Mr. Cannon?
Thank you, Madam Chair. First and foremost, I want to thank you for accompanying me last week to the school board meeting. I think that with your hard work, there's a lot of progress being made and more to be made. I think the lines of communications have been strengthened by your very presence and influence. So I thank you for that. I'd like to encourage all council members to attend school board meetings. There's a lot to be learned about the job that's being done and also to address any concerns we may have. And the other thing, I want to thank the borough for addressing the open lot on, I guess that's 200 block of East Baltimore Avenue, the site of the years ago bar that burnt down. I understand there is a problem with some that may cause some sinkage, but we're addressing it. We've got grass planted, and I think it's going to look real good. And I think it's a nice welcoming site as people come through the borough. as a land improvement thing. So I want to thank council, our borough manager, and our maintenance department. And I can't forget you either, Mr. Kelly. Thanks for helping out on that. That's it.
Right, thank you. Mr. Braun,
I have nothing.
all right, Ms. Borelli? I don't have anything. Okay. I guess in the newsletter, we had mentioned, we're gonna do a movie night here in the borough parking lot on Friday, May 17th. We're gonna open the lot at 7:30. The movie's gonna be Minions: Rise of Gru. The movie will begin at dusk, and we will have water ice for all the kids. So May 17th, so a week from Friday. That's all I have. Mr. Gorman?
I have nothing.
Okay. All right, Mr. Meyer?
I have nothing for tonight. Thank you.
Okay. All right. All right. Then I guess we're adjourned. Thank you.
So you come home at 6:30.